yourself, and we're going to support you in that, so join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. All right, you ready to get to work on how to do that? Yeah, I am too. Let's go. Last week we talked about the thing itself, chapter 1 in our textbook. The thing itself, talking about God or Spirit or Lord, whatever you want to call it. And the entire problem of limitation, evil, suffering, and uncertainty is not God ordained, but is the result of? And didn't we talk about that word last week? Ignorance, the core word, the central word being ignore, ignoring our greater good, not stepping into it. And another thing, our teaching is not a special revelation of any individual. It's the culmination of all revelations. That's why we welcome all faith traditions into the center here. Look, you can bring the best of whatever. If you were a Baptist, I want you to be a great Baptist and a science of mind follower, right? If you're Jewish, if you're a Christian, if you're an agnostic or atheist, still come. Give it a shot. Listen. Hear what allow yourself to know that we're taking the very best of the best and moving it into our own experience. All right, let's go. The way it works in your vision, that's what we're going to talk about today. David Thoreau, on your paper, on the other side of where the fill-out area is, where you're to fill it out, this is one of the most profound statements from David Thoreau, all right? Henry David Thoreau. If one advances in the direction of their dreams and endeavors to live the life they are imagining, one passes an invisible boundary. All sorts of things begin to occur that would have never otherwise occurred. One meets with a success unexpected in common hours. Really? Really? That's all I'm getting? Try again. All right, yes. Thank you. Wake up. Here we go. If you advance in the direction of your dreams, think about it. Every time I've set a goal, and I really start thinking, okay, this is what I want to achieve in my life, suddenly, out of nowhere, certain things begin to happen. The next step begins to appear in front of me, and then the next step. Now, it may not happen in my timeline, but if I pay attention enough, things begin to happen. As soon as you advance, I love this, advance in the direction of your dreams and endeavor to live in the life imaginable, things begin to happen that would have never normally happened before. Have you ever experienced that? Once you begin to do that, so we're going to teach you how to do that. Here we go. Dr. Ernest Holmes. We are thinking, willing, knowing, conscious centers of life. We are surrounded by, immersed in, and there is a flowing through us of a creative something. Call it what you will. So, here's your affirmation. Go for it. Ready? I am a thinking, willing, knowing, conscious center of life. Do that again. I am a... Stop. Are you thinking? Are you really thinking, or are you allowing people to tell you what to think? Are you listening to other people trying to give you their opinion in hopes that they will like somehow convince you that they're right and you're wrong? So are you independently thinking about what is the greater good for your life? Now let's proceed. Let's start again. I am a thinking, willing. Stop. Are you willing? Are you really willing to do what it takes, right? Every year, New Year's resolutions. I'm going to go to the gym. Right? I'm going to go to the gym. I'm willing. I'm going to do it. And again, you go for like 2 days till you're sore, then you don't go again. Am I really willing to put in what it takes to be in a relationship? Am I really willing to do what it takes to improve my health? Am I really willing? Am I willing, or am I not? Do I say I want it, but I really won't do what it takes necessary to make it happen? So I have to make sure I'm really willing. And an honest look in the mirror will tell you that. Because sometimes we say things because we think people want to hear them, but if we actually were to execute the plan, it would be the furthest thing from our mind. Anybody? Yes. Oh, come on. Really? Anybody? Yes. Thank you. Okay, we all do that. I am a thinking, willing, knowing. Are you do it now. I am a thinking, willing, knowing. Are you knowing or are you hoping? There's a big difference between knowing and hoping. I'm a thinking, willing, knowing, not hoping. Hoping is like a step below knowing. I don't want to hope I get better. I want to know I get better. I don't want to hope that my relationships are loving. I want to know that I'm in loving relationships. There's a difference between hoping and knowing. Let's say it all together now. I am a thinking, willing, knowing, conscious. Stop. Are you conscious? That's a big question. People think, oh, I'm conscious, I'm here. No, but sometimes we just do the same thing every day, same every day. We are on autopilot. We're not being consciously conscious. We're just actually going through life. So all together, please. I am a thinking, willing, knowing center of life. There we go. Everyone consciously or unconsciously is seeking a relationship with whatever you want to call this, God, Spirit, Lord, whatever it is. Everyone is consciously or unconsciously seeking a relationship. You know why? Because you know when life doesn't feel right, you're now trying to seek a relationship that is in balance with what that thing is. The good that thing is. Does that make sense? You can call it whatever you want. Its name is irrelevant. But you know when you know that your life is not exactly where you want it to be. So you're actually seeking a conscious relationship with whatever that is that will bring you back into a sense of harmony and balance and order. It doesn't matter what you call it. Now, I choose to call it God just because it's easier for me to identify with that. But some people don't even like the word God, and that's totally cool. So that's why I left it blank there. Because I want you to understand that consciously and even subconsciously, we're always seeking to align ourselves with whatever that is that makes us feel good about our life. Does that make sense? So you have to ask yourself, when it comes to my health, when it comes to my relationships, my finances that are on that page today, what are you seeking to become in alignment with? In order to create your vision statement, you have to acknowledge that I want to become in alignment with this, whatever that power is, to create better health, better relationships, creative financing, creative expression, whatever that is. All of that is to align ourselves with the presence, and so our vision starts there. What does it mean for you to be in alignment with that? We shall find a better God when we shall arrive at a higher standard for ourselves and all humankind. Ooh, what do you think we all email that to all representatives of Congress? Huh? Right? We shall arrive at a better standard, at a better God, when we lift up ourselves and we lift our standards on every side, right? What is your standard? Do you have a higher standard right now, or are you living a life of status quo? Are you okay with status quo? And if you're okay with status quo, life continues to march on and expand, so status quo continues to march on and expand, and you stay in the same place, you're actually behind. You know what I'm saying? Because the universe continues to expand, and if I'm stationary, if I'm not moving, if I'm stagnant, the universe continues to expand, and I'm not part of that expansion. I'm actually slipping backwards as the graph goes. Does that make sense? All right? Together, please. Thank you. Here we go. If God is to interpret itself to us, it must interpret itself through us. If God is to interpret itself to us, it has to work through us. So you have to ask the question, how is God currently showing up? Currently showing up in your health. However it's currently showing up in your health is how you're interpreting God as health. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. No. And how is God currently showing up in your relationship? Oh, no. Are you getting my point? Right? Okay, same with your finances, your creative expression. All of it's part of the one thing. Right? If it's going to work if it's going to interpret itself to us, the only thing that can happen is by means of us. And right now, your interpretation is the life that you're expressing right now. Getting busy on that form, aren't we? Okay. In our ignorance of the truth, again, the word ignorance meaning what? Say it again. Ignore. Right? I'm doing a lesson. Have you noticed this is more lesson teaching, right? In the ignorance of the truth, we have misused the highest power we possess. Misuse equates to what? Suffering. Ooh. So that means if I'm suffering, I need to acknowledge that somewhere I have misused this highest spiritual law, this truth. Misuse equates to suffering. What I'm trying to get at is this. When we look at how this thing works, we have to look at how our life currently is and then back our way into how I got there. Because everything is a cause and effect relationship. So if I'm here, if I am the plant already, if I'm the plant, okay, because I've already, the seed is over here and here is the plant. I am living this demonstration as a plant, right? What my life is, my finances, my relationships, whatever that is. If it's not the plant I want, I have to back myself up and figure out what seed I placed here to get that. So that's why I'm saying, when I bring this lesson up, I have to bring it up in reverse. I have to have you look at your life and then flip it upside down and say, how did I get here? Because I can tell you, you got there because of the way you believe today. Now, and you may say to me, but that's not what I've been saying in my mind because I wanted a better experience. I said, but what you say in your mind isn't always what you're doing in your work. Are you there? The sum total of our thought will excuse me, I'm losing my voice already. The sum total of our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that creates us to react, creates it to react to us according to the sum total of that belief. Let me back into this. The sum total of our thought, our will, our purpose, and belief creates a tendency. Key word, tendency. Say it. Tendency. You have to know where the tendency of your thought goes. You can say something that I want to have fabulous, loving relationships, but if my mouth is always talking about how dysfunctional my relationships are, and my belief is I'm thinking about how dysfunctional my relationships are, the tendency of my thought is not loving relationships. The tendency of my thought is, wah, 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 wah. It's not working. Are you with me? It's the tendency, okay, creates a tendency in this law that helps create, it reacts to us according to the sum total of our beliefs. So it's our tendency. If you were to measure, if you had a scale of 1 to 100, and I'm talking about, let's say, your financial security, okay? And your financial security, what is the internal dialogue you have about financial security? Is it a good one? Or is it one based on fear? Like if you look at your phone and all the numbers are red on your stocks, does suddenly you go, ah! You know what I'm saying? Anybody? Say amen. Amen. Okay, I could relate because I do that sometimes too. You know, look, I'm teaching you again what I need to hear. How does that sound? All right? So, the sum total of our thoughts. Together, please. I am a thinking, willing, knowing, conscious center of life. Say it again. I am a thinking, willing, knowing, conscious center of life. So it's not a question of its willingness, God's willingness, nor its ability, God's ability. It is entirely a question of what? My own receptivity. Yeah. The universe is always the universe. God is always God. It's never moved. The only person that's ever moved has been my idea of what God is and how God is or isn't serving me and my needs. Does that make sense? That's big. We don't have a tricky prayer that you have to give or a saint you have to pray to gain access to this power. There is no gatekeeper here. There is no trick. There's no magic. Okay? Last week we talked about commitment and how to build your commitment to your own life and how we're committed to creating a life for you and the opportunity to do that. This week we're talking about how do you create your receptivity to this greater vision of your life. And if you can't even write it down, how do you expect the universe to provide it to you? It can't. So when we talk about writing this down, don't just set this paper in the trash or on the pile of things to do. Set it up to the very top. Because if you can't define it, then you can't complain that you don't have it. Thank you, Chelsea. All right. Ignorance, because guess what? Ignorance of the law excuses no one from its effects. That electricity that's going through that doesn't care if I know how to use it or not. It just knows how to do, if I plug it in, if I plug a plug in, the way a plug is meant to be plugged in, it will work. If I decide to do something funky with a knife and put a knife in it, it will work the way it works, but it will work its way through me and electrocute me. It's just being the electricity. My ignorance is what causes the problem. The source is always the source. It's our ignoring how the source works that puts us in places we don't want to be. Is this making sense? So, the approach should be direct and it should be specific. Don't write a novel down on your vision statement. What is it that you want? Speak clearly what you want. Be direct about it. Don't be wishy-washy, because then guess what you get? A wishy-washy demonstration. And the mechanical accuracy of the law. It knows nothing of age or sex or religion or how bad you've been or how good you've been. We don't like to think of God as the mechanical accuracy, because we want to think of God as, fluffy and lovey and like this. And that is definitely what God is. But it's also very accurate. Very accurate. When I say stuff that I really don't want and I get it, I have to understand, oh my God, you just asked for that. You know? Just the other day, typical Joe, right? I'm like, I've had a problem with my right knee, right? You've been watching me all recover from that. So I was fully recovered from that. And I'm bouncing up the steps. And I said, oh my God, I feel so good. I was walking up my steps to my bedroom. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so good. And so I said to myself, you know what? I don't know when. I hope that doesn't happen again. Going to happen again tomorrow. Less than 12 hours, don't worry. This popping up the steps thing, you won't feel that for a while again. I'm like, damn you, that's Joe. And I get mad at myself, and I metaphysically beat up myself because I set myself up for it. If we can only conceive a little good, this is as much as we'll experience. If we can only conceive a little, how much are we going to get? A little. I always use that example. If I told you that the Salton Sea was the fountain of youth, and that or better yet, no, I'm on a limited income. What did you just tell the universe? Thanks for the limit. You're not going to get anywhere past the limit. This whole idea of, no, I'm good enough. No, your good can always get better. Now, that doesn't mean you're taking away from someone else. It's just the universe is about expansion. It's about having, if you had more, would you give more? If I had more energy, would I do more? Science of mind demonstration. We set the mark high, and man, we got one. 10 days later. 10 days later after that, meeting with her. And I'm like, 2 men, 1 baby, 10 days, okay. Something's working. Set the mark high. It's funny, I think I've shared with you before, because I used to come out here when we didn't even live out here, and I used to sit there and watch Dr. Tom do his little soft shoe thing and sing and do his talks, and I kept, in the back of my mind, I'm like, wouldn't that be fun one day to do that? I had no calling to be a minister. It wasn't a calling, but I thought, wouldn't that be really fun to be able to talk to people and change their lives and motivate them and, just do the whole thing and make it all happen? That wouldn't be great vocation? Someday, maybe someday I'll do that. You were a real witch back then. Anyway, never mind. If one advances in the direction, let's say this slowly together. If one advances in the direction of their dreams and endeavors to live the life they are imagining, one passes through an invisible boundary. All sorts of things begin to occur that never otherwise would have occurred. One meets with this success unexpected in common hours. That's some powerful stuff. What it means to me is this: look for qualities of life. I am a person who teaches, put down qualities of life in those 4 categories. Because if I put down a quality of life, then the universe can figure out a way to improve that quality. But if I put down something specific, then it has to provide that specific thing. In other words, when we were looking for a child, we didn't say this child had to be dot, 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 dot. We said we want a child. I can do what I want, when I want, how I want it, and pay cash for it. Right? In my relationships, I want loving relationships. I want to improve the relationship that I'm in. My relationship with Trey is great. It can always be improved. Anybody in a marriage? In a relationship? Where you would say it'd be really nice to have, or anyone have kids, or someone you're in a relationship with. It may be good, but I can make it better. So universe, I don't, right? Think about it. If you're bored, that means you're boring. You have to breathe life into your own life. No one's going to be able to breathe life into you. So that means your creative expression. If you're bored, you got to say, okay, what can I do to create this? God, show me ways to find friends and social connections and spiritual connections, and show me a way to book that trip and go with the group to Bhutan or wherever. Whatever it is, show me the way to do this. But you have to ask the universe, and you have to write it down. Because up here, it just gets mixed up in the 10,500 other things you're thinking at the moment. But when you write it down, it gets some traction. It gets rubber. Rubber hits the road when you write it down. So write it down. Bring it back in 2 weeks. We'll work on it in a workshop, and if you want a practitioner to pray for it, we can do that too. Because no one wants you to succeed more than our prayer ministry in the center. That's what they're there for. We're committed to your success if you do your part. Does that make sense? And so ends your lesson. Done.
So I'd like to call our ushers to come forward, please. Please come forward. And those of you that are live streaming, there's a donate button. I just want to tell you, we had so many people use PayPal last week. It was wonderful. I think we broke our records. So you can do PayPal, you can hit the donate button, or you can also text. So let us all together, let's say our offering.
I wake up and I say, today I love my life. Come on, one more time all the way through. And every day I wake up and I say, today I wake up and I say.
Says many lives, including my own. And please give the basket to Tom Kelly. He's the chair of our Abundance Committee.
Amy wants to do one more thing for 60 seconds. Go for
All
it.
right,
So
Amy.
I can't pay attention unless I'm writing a rap. It's a
Okay.
way for my ADD. So
Good.
this is crystallizing your talk
Oh.
in rhyme. Okay, here we go. Ignorance is ignoring the greater good, so go in the direction of your dreams like the words of H.D. Thoreau. Set a goal and know, pay attention, follow the light. I'm a thinking, willing, knowing, conscious center of life. There's a difference between hoping and knowing the truth. You are seeking something to align and balance you. Conscious or unconscious, it's happening, yo. We must raise our standard beyond the status quo. We are rising up. We are rising up higher to a new elevation. The life that you are expressing is your interpretation. The sum total of your belief creates a tendency. God is entirely dependent on your receptivity. Sorry, it's a lot. You said a lot. Okay, Bear. The source is always the source. We can't ignore the truth. Stick a knife into spirit, it will electrocute you. It's accurate. Okay? It's accurate. Everything we say we can conceive. Be careful with the words, you'll get twisted like a Christmas tree needs. There's always something more good to have today. There is always more good to have today. 2 men, 10 days, 1 baby, okay. We create our dreams. We create our dreams with the power of belief all the way to Dr. Reverend Joe from Would You Like Chicken or Beef?